Welcome to the Global WarWatch Network. Explosions shook eastern Afghanistan as deadly airstrikes hit villages. Kabul says Pakistan is to blame. Is this the start of a dangerous new conflict? Today we're going to look closely at these critical events unfolding in South Asia. We'll examine what happened, the immediate reactions, and the really complex history between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Our mission here is to help you understand the gravity and maybe the potential implications of this escalating situation, give you the context needed to grasp what's truly at stake. So let's jump right into what happened on the ground. Just yesterday, Thursday, August 28th, 2025, reports started flooding in from Afghanistan about, significant airstrikes in its eastern provinces. What exactly transpired?
Well, sources from the Associated Press paint a pretty stark picture. Airstrikes hit two eastern provinces, Nangarhar and Khost. And Afghan officials, along with eyewitnesses, were quick to call them Pakistani deadly drone attacks.
Drone attacks, okay.
Yes. And the human cost, tragically, is already clear. At least 3 people killed, 7 others wounded. And beyond that, homes were extensively damaged. Just devastating for those communities.
3 killed, 7 wounded. That's just awful. But to really get a sense of the impact, can you maybe bring us closer? Any personal stories emerging?
Yes, absolutely. It's those individual accounts that really, underscore the tragedy. There's a resident from Nangarhar's Shinmori district, Shasawar. He described his house being completely destroyed.
Oh, wow.
And he recounted this harrowing story of pulling a child, then 4 more children, and a woman from the rubble. Just brings it home, doesn't it?
It really does.
And adding to that, Nangarhar's deputy governor, Mulvi Azizullah Mustafa, he specifically attributed the strikes to Pakistani drones. So it's not just residents, it's officials on the ground saying this.
Okay, so you have local officials pointing the finger directly at Pakistan, citing drone strikes, and this terrible human cost. How did the Afghan government, the central government in Kabul, officially respond? Must have been pretty strong.
Oh, absolutely. Very swift, very strong. In Kabul, the foreign ministry immediately condemned the strikes. They called it a provocative act by Pakistan, and they didn't waste time. They summoned the Pakistani ambassador right away for an official reprimand.
Summoning the ambassador, that's usually a pretty serious diplomatic step.
It is. It signals serious displeasure. And then the Afghan Defense Ministry also weighed in. They put out a statement on X, the social media platform. They called the actions barbaric and brutal, saying they benefit neither sides, rather intensify the distance between the two Muslim nations and fuel hatred. And then they added this line, these irresponsible activities will have consequences.
Will have consequences. That definitely sounds ominous. But, for people following this region, accusations like this between Afghanistan and Pakistan, they aren't entirely new, are they? There's this underlying tension. What's really at the heart of it?
Yeah, you're right. What's really fascinating, or perhaps troubling, is how relations between Islamabad and Kabul have just stayed consistently tense, especially since the Afghan Taliban took power back in 2021. The primary issue, at least from Pakistan's perspective, is their accusation that the Afghan Taliban government is giving sanctuary to the Pakistani Taliban, the TTP.
Right, the TTP. That's the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. Important distinction there.
Exactly. They're a separate group, though ideologically aligned. They're banned in Pakistan, blamed for, numerous awful terrorist attacks inside Pakistan. So Pakistan sees them as a major threat, and these alleged safe havens in Afghanistan are a huge security concern for Islamabad.
Okay, so Pakistan makes these very serious claims about sanctuary for the TTP. How does Kabul respond to that? Do they acknowledge the TTP presence or any responsibility?
Kabul vehemently denies it, just flat out denies it. Their line is always that they do not permit their territory to be used against any other country. Now, the challenge, of course, is proving or disproving these things definitively. It's a complex border region, very porous. But this basic disagreement, this accusation and denial, it just creates this constant friction, mistrust, and any incident like these airstrikes just flares it right up again.
This cycle, accusation and denial, it really does sound familiar. We have seen similar things fairly recently, haven't we?
Yeah.
Can you remind us about those precedents?
Absolutely. It was just back in December 2024. Very similar situation. Kabul accused Pakistan of carrying out airstrikes then, too. That time, it was reportedly against suspected TTP hideouts, but in Paktika province.
Okay.
And interestingly, just like now, Pakistan didn't officially acknowledge those specific strikes back then either. This lack of confirmation from Pakistan seems to be, a pattern.
Right, it leaves things ambiguous.
It does. And what's particularly worrying is what happened after those alleged strikes in December. Kabul claimed it retaliated. They said they hit several points inside Pakistan.
They claimed retaliation.
Yes. So you see the pattern. Accusation, denial, maybe ambiguity from one side, and then even claimed counterattacks. It really escalates things quickly and dangerously.
So we've got this really volatile history, these cross-border incidents, claims, counterclaims, all driven by this deep mistrust over militant groups. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, despite all this, there have been recent, seemingly genuine efforts to, well, improve ties. What were those about?
That's the paradox, isn't it? It makes the timing of these latest strikes even more jarring. Because just a week before this happened, top diplomats from Pakistan, China, and Afghanistan actually met in Kabul.
China was involved too.
Yes, China was there. And they publicly pledged closer cooperation against terrorism. China has its own concerns about regional stability and militancy.
Sure.
And even before that, only 3 months prior, Pakistan and Afghanistan had formally upgraded their diplomatic ties. They set up joint working groups specifically on counterterrorism and border management.
Joint working groups. So practical cooperation was the goal.
Exactly. The aim was supposedly better intelligence sharing, better operational collaboration, ostensibly to improve relations and find common ground precisely on these security issues.
Okay, so you have these high-level meetings, joint working groups, China involved, all aimed at cooperation, especially on terrorism. Sure. And then, bam, these airstrikes happen, and Kabul immediately blames Pakistan. It just seems to completely fly in the face of all that diplomatic effort.
It absolutely does, and I think when you connect the dots, this incident just starkly highlights how incredibly fragile any diplomatic progress is between these two countries. It really suggests that these deep-seated security worries, this profound mistrust, particularly around the militants crossing the border, it can just unravel attempts at cooperation almost overnight. What our sources seem to show isn't just a temporary bump in the road. It looks more like a stark reminder that domestic pressures, maybe political pressures in Pakistan related to TTP attacks, can just override these careful diplomatic efforts. And Pakistan's continued silence, their lack of official comment on these latest alleged strikes, that's also significant, isn't it? It leaves so many questions open about their intentions right now.
It does. A lot of unanswered questions.
This whole situation really underscores a deeply complex regional dynamic, and it's something that ultimately impacts you, listening now, and the wider global security picture.
So as we wrap up here, you've heard the distressing details about the airstrikes, the strong accusations flying from Afghanistan, and this really complicated historical backdrop fueling the tensions with Pakistan. We've touched on the cycle of claims and denials, and those recent but apparently very fragile diplomatic moves.
Which really leaves us with a crucial question to think about. Is this latest incident, these airstrikes, just another, albeit violent, setback in a very long, difficult relationship? Or, perhaps more worryingly, is it a sign that the core issues, the security fears, and the deep mistrust between Afghanistan and Pakistan are simply too entrenched for diplomacy alone to fix, leaving the region sort of perpetually vulnerable to these flare-ups?
Something for all of us to consider. Thank you for joining us on Global WarWatch Network. We really appreciate your time and tuning in. If you found this information valuable, please do like, share, and subscribe to the Global WarWatch Network. We also love to hear your thoughts on this unfolding situation, so please share them in the comment section below. And you can also join us on social media. All the links are right there in the description.